Welcome to another episode, everyone. They turned the jungles into a war zone. The Black P Stones versus the 18th Streets. A black gang versus a Mexican gang. I'm playing this and giving you all the history of some of the gang wars that have transpired in California, not to glorify or to drudge these incidents back up. Some of these wars are still ongoing, in fact. Nevertheless, there have been many individuals on the internet, particularly as of late, from out of state, from New York and wherever, Chicago, you name it. I just saw one individual saying that he's never seen a documentary about an LA gang. That there are that LA gangs are so soft that they don't put in any work. And again, this is not to glorify it, but many individuals have of late made statements such as the blacks are afraid of the Southsiders and afraid of the Mexicans, and LA gangs are afraid of the Mexican gangs, and many individuals have made reference to this as of late. And this is just so untrue. Many black gangs went to war with Southsider gangs in the 90s and 2000s, and many of these gangs are still at war. These wars were very deadly, and they have went back and forth. No one bowed down. No one is afraid of anyone. These black gangs have held their own in these wars. Now, these wars need to end because we are not one another's enemies. The sooner we understand that, the better off we'll all be. But for those individuals who believe that who said that they've never seen a documentary on this sort of thing or know of blacks standing up to certain gangs, well, here's the war between the Black P Stones and the 18th Streets, and they turned the jungles into a complete war zone.
They never planned for Baldwin Village to become a battlefield. Los Angeles is a city built on borders, street names, school districts, gang lines. And in the southwest pocket of South Central, between La Brea and Crenshaw, lies a cluster of low-rise apartments surrounded by palm trees and quiet tension. It's called Baldwin Village, but to those who really know, it's the jungles. The Black P Stones trace their origins back to Chicago in the late 1950s, founded by a man named Jeff Fort. But it wasn't until the late 1960s that their presence took root in Los Angeles, when a young member named T. Rogers relocated to Baldwin Village and established what would become the Stones' most infamous West Coast chapter, the Jungles. Baldwin Village got its nickname from its dense greenery, palm trees, and tropical plants that made the neighborhood look like an urban jungle. But over time, the name took on a darker meaning, one tied to crack, murder, and red rags. Their turf and near the west side of LA sits in by Exposition at its north, Jim Gilliam Park on the south, La Brea to the west, and Crenshaw to the east. A smaller offshoot, known as the Biddy, sits further north in the Arlington Heights area near Mid-City. 18th Street, on the other hand, is one of the largest and most deeply rooted Hispanic gangs in Los Angeles. Founded in the 1960s near 18th and Union, they've grown into an estimated 15,000 member powerhouse, with cliques scattered across the county and even internationally. But the four barrios that matter most sit just west of downtown LA, especially near West Adams. While 18th Street has plenty of enemies, one of their most violent and long-standing rivalries has been with the Bloods, and no feud has been more bloody than their war with the Black P Stones. The tension wasn't always explosive. At first, it was side eyes at the liquor store, bumped shoulders outside the apartments, or crossed out tags re-tagged again. These early gestures, small acts of disrespect, carried weight in gang culture. Each crossed out 18 or BPS was like a slap in the face, and both sides were keeping score. By 1998, things had turned physical. Fights broke out in alleys, gunshots echoed near the Dons, and several unsolved shootings were whispered about on both sides. The LAPD knew something was brewing, but couldn't pin down who started it. The Stones suspected 18th Street was pushing deeper into their turf. 18th Street accused Stones of wilding out beyond their block. Then came the gang injunctions, specifically designed to shut down movement in Baldwin Village. But it didn't work the way the city hoped. Instead of slowing things down, it made the territory even more valuable. Each gang knew if the city cared enough to draw a line around Baldwin Village, it must be worth fighting over. And fight they did. The year 2004 marked the first clear, documented bloodshed in the conflict between 18th Street and the Black Pea Stones inside South Los Angeles. This was the year things officially turned deadly. On the night of January 31st, 2004, a group of 12 friends, ages ranging from their late teens to early 20s, pulled up to a house party near Arlington Avenue and Adams Boulevard, deep in Black Pea Stone territory. They arrived in 3 separate cars, parking along the north side of Adams Boulevard under the glow of dim streetlights. 2 women from the group, Anjanette and Carla, walked ahead to the party gate and asked a security guard if they could come in. The guard told them the group was welcome, but when the girls went back to tell their friends...
Well, he's saying that this is how it started. But as we can see, there was strife and a bit of acrimony early on between these individual groups. And this often happens. A lot of these wars start, some of it is just racial, and some of it is just that you're in close proximity. And it's the same way that these black gangs will beef with another black gang that's in close proximity. If there's a Hispanic gang there in close proximity, both gangs are vying for position and for power and for whose territory this really is. There's a small incident that ignites into something more. The situation escalates and a war ensues. And this one is, as you're about to see, it went back and forth, and it was indeed a very vicious and bloody war. Ironically enough, I stayed right here. This is Arlington and Adams. I live right down the street on Arlington and 28th Street. The next block, right on the same street though, just go down the hill right there. And it is indeed, my mother lived over there for years. And it is, and my auntie lived right there on Adams for years. It is indeed very dangerous over there in that area. Jeez. It's crazy. You have to be careful, for real.
They had no idea what they were walking back into. As the group started toward the pedestrian gate, a man known on the streets as Leon, a Black Pea Stone affiliate, stepped out of the shadows and confronted them. "Hey, what y'all doing over here?" he asked, hand already near his waistband. Before anyone could answer, Leon pulled a gun and threatened to open fire. "Y'all need to get up out of here," he barked, then turned to one of the men saying, "And you, why you looking at me like you trying to do something?" The group quickly backed away, insisting they didn't want trouble, but as they turned to leave, Leon wasn't done. He ran up on Miguel, pressed the gun into his body, and demanded, "What you got on you?" Miguel said he didn't have any money. Leon told him to take off his Boston Celtics jersey, then suddenly pivoted toward Jose's car and opened fire. Witnesses later said they heard between 10 and 30 shots. When the gunfire stopped, Leon jumped into a silver Ford Explorer with another man later identified as Frank.
Between 10 and 30 shots. Was this just one individual's shooting?
And they sped away. The victims tried to flee in their cars, but as they drove several blocks, Jose began to fade from blood loss and pulled over. In the back seat, Jason, Jose's brother, was dead. In the front, his sister Shama had also been killed instantly. Another passenger, Walter, had been shot through the hand. Jose himself had been hit 6 times, multiple bullets to his legs, and one that shattered his jaw. Whoa. Police recovered over 30 shell casings at the scene.
30 shell casings at the scene. So, what does he say? Jose is driving, I think. He's been hit 6 times in the legs, and 1 bullet shattered his jaw. So he's in grave condition himself, trying to drive to the hospital, apparently, and say he's losing blood. His brother is in the back seat, already dead. He's been unalived by these bullets. One of these 30 bullets or multiple bullets that hit him, hit his brother. And he say his sister or someone is in the passenger seat, his girl, wife, someone, and she's dead. And he on his way out. This was like that. This was a big story when this happened. Of course, he's saying that this is what really kicked off the war. That's a lot of carnage right there. That's a lot of damage. And he's driving to the hospital trying to save himself and save his life. And looking around and there's dead bodies everywhere of people that he loved. That had to have been horrific.
Both Leon and Frank, members of the Black P. Stones, were arrested, convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and shooting into an occupied vehicle. Each received 2 consecutive life sentences. It was the first major conviction tying the Stones to a double homicide tied to gang tension in Baldwin Village, and for the city, it was a brutal sign of what was coming. By the end of 2004, everyone in South LA knew Baldwin Village was no longer just the jungles. It was a war zone. On the afternoon of September 24th, 2006, Cesar Avila was sitting in his car with his wife and 2 daughters. When Cesar stepped out of the car, a silver 4-door vehicle pulled up right beside him. A person in the front passenger seat shouted out, "Fuck 18." The passenger shouted out, "Black P. Stones," then pulled out a gun and shot Cesar in the chest in the hand. The passenger then hopped out and fired a 3rd shot into the car, striking and killing Cesar's 3-year-old daughter, Jonathan Durrell. Banks, a member of BPS, was eventually convicted of the killing of Cesar's 3-year-old daughter. On March 19th, 2007, a young man named Carlos was simply trying to get home. As he entered his apartment complex, he was approached by 3 young men, all members of the Black P. Stones. Leading the group was Kevin, accompanied by 2 associates. One of them stepped forward and asked Carlos, "Where you from?" followed by the more ominous, "You know where you at, right?" Carlos tried to stay calm. He pleaded with them, insisting he wasn't a...
That's never good. That's never good in anybody's territory, any gang hood. When you are asked that question, do you know where you're at? Do you know what this is? Do you know where we're from? That's bad. It's basically time to just get out of there, if you can. In these wars, these individuals, of course, they don't take any prisoners. Sometimes it does not even matter that you are not from that gang. If you are in that area or know members from that gang, oftentimes that is good enough. When these wars are intense and bodies are dropping on both sides, then individuals become bloodthirsty and they just want revenge however they can get it. You come and you drop one of ours, looking to respond immediately and drop one of yours, even if it's not. We would like to get a trophy, a real member, but we'll take whatever we can get. We just want revenge fast and swiftly. And they go back and forth. That's all gang wars, no matter the race. That's just the culture of gang wars, of any sort of war. The sheriffs versus the LAPD. It doesn't matter. Everyone's going back and forth until someone feels like they're even.
Affiliated with any gang, but it didn't matter. The 3 P. Stones were convinced Carlos was part of 18th Street. They surrounded him, checking his pockets for cash, taking his car keys, and then, without warning, started punching on him. Carlos broke free and ran, but as he took off, Kevin pulled out a handgun and opened fire, striking Carlos in the foot. The shooting happened right outside his own complex. Another example of how this war didn't just claim gang members. It endangered everyone. Yeah. Later, Kevin from the Black P. Stones pleaded no contest to second-degree robbery and admitted to firing the weapon during the attack. He was sentenced to 22 years in state prison. On September 20th, 2007, the war spilled directly into the heart of 18th Street territory. That evening, 2 men, Erwin and Mario, were driving a Ford Explorer down West Haven Street, a stretch known to be deep inside 18th Street's zone. As they approached Redondo Boulevard, 2 vehicles suddenly blocked the road ahead, cutting off any escape. Before they could react, 3 black males jumped out and opened fire. Irwin ducked his head and threw the Explorer in reverse, trying to escape the ambush. Bullets tore through the vehicle, 12 shots in total. As Irwin tried to maneuver away, one round grazed his forehead, and he slammed into multiple parked cars while backing up. Mario, seated beside him, was hit in the forearm and stomach. That same day, just hours earlier around noon, Victor Campos, an 18th Street member, was standing outside his apartment building on Hauser Boulevard and Carlin Street. A silver Impala rolled up, and the passenger shouted, "Fuck 18th Street," before opening fire. Victor was hit in the upper back near the shoulder, reportedly by either a .45 or a .22 caliber handgun. Then, just 5 days later, on the corner of West Haven and Redondo once again, this war zone lit up with gunfire around 1:46 p.m. Witnesses said a car carrying two black males crashed into another vehicle at the intersection. After the collision, they jumped out and started firing. The driver of the second car, an 18th Street member, returned fire. The back and forth that day left the block in chaos. James Fletcher and Jerry Burke, both confirmed Black P. Stones members, were later arrested and convicted for the series of shootings inside 18th Street's neighborhood. Prosecutors connected the three incidents as part of a calculated string of attacks targeting 18th Street soldiers directly in their stronghold. The message was loud. Nowhere was safe. It was the morning of New Year's Eve. Dwight.
Man, war zone indeed. That's the title of this. They turned the jungles into a war zone. 18th Street versus Black P. Stone. If you're from LA, then you know that this is not an exaggeration. It was like the 4th of July. What do you got, fireworks right there? Yes, it was like the 4th of July. I lived right there on 28th and Arlington. My auntie lived on 7th and Adams. Well, it's all right there. I used to be out there walking around. It's crazy. It's dangerous. At nighttime, even during the day. Even during the day. The gas station right there on Crenshaw and Adams. Crenshaw and Adams. Man, it's all crazy over there. You have to be careful. You have to know what you're doing, because individuals will pull up on you, hit you up, ask you where you from, and you can try to tell them you don't bang and this, that, and the other. And if it's a war going on, and you are in this hood, and it's a war going on with this hood and whichever hood, you in trouble. You can be in very serious trouble, because even though you may be telling the truth, you don't bang, they're not taking any chances. And they're just looking to score. They're just looking to get a score. This is how innocent people end up leaking out there, because it's tense. It's a war. They're not taking any chances that you're not really one of these guys, and they just gonna take care of you. You have to know what you're doing, where you're going. You have to be real careful, or you're cooked. I'm just telling you.
Known on the streets as Pee-wee from the Rolling 20 Bloods, asked his girlfriend for a ride to the swap meet. He needed a long-sleeve shirt to help cover up his gang tattoos. He planned to be in a rival gang's territory later that day. He also had a borrowed gun in his pocket. His own house had been shot up just a month earlier. As Dwight entered the swap meet, his girlfriend walked to a nearby beauty supply store. At the same time, Danny, a known 18th Street member, and his cousin Melvin were pulling up to the same location. Danny had 666 tattooed across the back of his head, a clear representation of his gang ties. As they approached the entrance, Dwight came around the corner and locked eyes with them. "Hey, hold up, where y'all from?" he called out. Danny answered, "I'm from 18th Street.
Oh.
Dwight fired back, literally. "Oh yeah? F-18, then immediately pulled out his gun and started shooting. Danny took off running toward the swap meet, and Dwight let off 2 shots. Melvin was hit twice in the leg and ducked behind a concrete planter for cover, but Dwight wasn't done. He kept shooting at Melvin, firing between 9 to 10 rounds in total before fleeing the scene with his girlfriend. Danny ran back to Melvin, who was bleeding on the ground. He tried to help get his cousin into the car to drive him to the hospital, but because Danny was on parole, he panicked when he heard sirens and left the scene. Later, both cousins identified Dwight and his girlfriend, Elena. Dwight from Rolling 20s was convicted of attempted murder and attempted voluntary manslaughter. He was sentenced to 22 years plus 25 years to life. Jamil Shaw II, known as Jazz, was a rising star in Los Angeles. A standout running back at LA High School, Jazz was a three-time MVP with a 4.2 GPA and scholarship offers from Stanford and Rutgers. On March 2, 2008, he had just finished a 10-week college football training program in Pasadena and stopped by the Beverly Center with friends before heading home. Jazz's father, Jamil Sr., told him to be home by 7. At 7:01 p.m., he called Jazz, who said, "We caught the wrong bus, but I'm safe. Be there in a minute." That same night, Pedro Espinosa, a recently released 18th Street gang member, was driving through the neighborhood with two associates. They spotted Jazz walking with a red Spider-Man backpack. They didn't know Jazz. They didn't care. They just saw a young black male in red. Pedro stopped at a friend's house nearby, but the friend wasn't home. As Pedro walked back toward his car, he spotted Jazz again, now just 3 houses away from home. Jazz was on the phone with his girlfriend Cristal when Pedro approached him and asked, "Where are you from?" Jazz didn't answer fast enough. Pedro pulled out his gun and fired. The first bullet hit Jazz in the stomach. As Jazz fell to the ground with his hands up, Pedro walked around and fired again. That bullet went through Jazz's hands and into his head. Pedro fled the scene with his crew. Jamil Sr. heard the gunshots from his living room. He ran outside and found his son dying in the street. He stayed by Jazz's side until paramedics arrived. Jazz was later pronounced dead. At first, rumors circulated online suggesting Jazz was affiliated with the Bloods, based on some old MySpace photos. But LAPD investigations found no gang ties, no criminal history. Jazz's murder sparked national outrage. His story was compared to Ricky's in Boys in the Hood, a promising black youth gunned down by senseless gang violence. Pedro...
I don't know why he showed the president right there. He certainly wasn't outraged. It caused national outrage and didn't show Trump. If anything, he was celebrating. He was doing jumping jacks. He's ready to pardon the individual that did it. Like he pardons everyone else. He doesn't care, nevertheless. It's a very vicious war. It's a very bad situation. As we can see, these individuals are going back and forth. Hell, it looked like the BPS was giving out a little hell. Every situation was them crashing out, really, until right now. But this is why, we want to keep our children out of gang-infested neighborhoods if we can, if at all possible. And this is why people leave these situations and leave these neighborhoods, leave the ghettos, catacombs and grottos of America, and people think that the people are leaving and turning their back on their people, and they trying to get out and get free because of situations like this. Yes, he had on a red hat, had a T on it, though. That has nothing to do with Black Pea Stone or Bloods. He had a red rag around his face. That could have been for any reason that he had taken that picture. That the police did an investigation and said that he had no gang ties. They would know. Trust me. They know every member in the neighborhood. They said that he had no gang ties. So this individual was not a member. Someone who lived over there. You just never know when your life is going to end. He caught the wrong bus, and this is why he was late. Suppose they had been there. Look how they ended up crossing paths. He had seen him earlier, a few moments earlier. He had stopped at a house or something with a friend or whatever he did, and then he sees him again. And this is when he decides to approach him. All of this stuff, man, it's crazy. And he was three homes away from his own home. He about to make it home, but he got a red backpack on and whatever. He about to make it home. He 3 homes away. And like they say he pulled up, whomever, pulled up, where you from? And then you give him a chance to ask him, man, I don't gangbang. I live right here. I'm about to go home. Daddy, something. He didn't give him a chance. He just drew down, pow, popped him, bam, popped him again, put his hand up, shot through his hand and hit him in the head. Damn. And then Pops, oh man, that's cold. Pops had to come out and see that. Pops heard the gunshots, whatever, came out and see his little boy down there leaking. Dang. crazy. All of these situations are bad. All of these situations are very bad. The one in the car early on, where the father lost his life and his 3-year-old daughter. He was sitting there with his wife and 2 daughters in a car. I don't even know that he gangbanged. I don't even think he was a member. And everyone, that's crazy. That's cold. Everyone there is traumatized. The wife is traumatized for the rest of her life. The other daughter that didn't lose her life is traumatized because they saw their husband and father and daughter and sister right in front of them being brutally unalived right there. They saw them take their last breath. They'll never forget that for the rest of their life. They'll never get over that for the rest of their life. Hearing the gunshots, hearing what their daughter or father said, screaming, however it went, they replaying all of that in their head for the rest of their life, probably every night. Probably need therapy. I mean, these wars affect a lot of people, not just the individual that loses their life. The individual that takes a life, he's in prison for the rest of his life, affecting his family and his children. The individual, the life that you take is affecting their family. It's not worth it. And it's really all over nothing, a dispute.
Espinosa from 18th Street was convicted and sentenced to death. On the evening of May 7th, 2009, members of 18th Street were having a party at Carlos's apartment, a known hangout called The Spot. Louisa, who was dating a member named Jimmy, had parked her black Jeep outside and passed out drunk inside the apartment. Daniel, another member who was on parole and wearing a state-issued GPS ankle monitor, took the keys from Luisa's purse and convinced Carlos to ride with him. Daniel and Carlos headed west into Blood territory. At the intersection of 27th and Cimarron, Daniel ran a stop sign and nearly collided with another car.
Cimarron, not Cimarron, Cimarron. Yep. Oh, see? This is what I'm saying. It's very dangerous. I could have lost my life. Anybody can. Anybody could, because I'm not from the jungles, but they could have pulled up and thought that I was. Just because I'm black, that's how it works with these wars. I'm just telling you, this is how it goes over in these neighborhoods. This market I went to every day for a while. My mother went to every day. My sisters went to every day. Right here, this market right here. Every day. Cimarron.
The driver, Thomas, an unaffiliated civilian, swerved to avoid impact. Daniel stepped out of the Jeep and opened fire. Thomas was hit once in the side and once in the chest. He later died from his wounds. His only mistake, being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
See? These wars, man.
But Daniel and Carlos weren't done. Minutes later, cousins Trey and Rashid, both civilians, were walking near 27th and Arlington. The black Jeep sped toward them at nearly 80 miles per hour, then suddenly slowed down. Carlos leaned out and said, "Hey, what's up, blood?" Before they could react, shots rang out. Trey was grazed in the backside. Rashid watched a bullet fly past his face. Daniel and Carlos were later convicted of first-degree murder and multiple counts of attempted murder. Daniel received 90 years to life. Carlos got 80. Near the corner of 27th and 7th Avenue, an area known as the Biddy, a man named Casey was shot in the head by 2 Latino gunmen. He survived. Just over a week later on Spalding Avenue in 18th Street territory, James and Mauricio stood outside Mauricio's house. James had driven from South Bay to pick up his car. Mauricio noticed a white BMW drive past, followed closely by a gray Infiniti. The Infiniti made a U-turn, circled back, and stopped. A man jumped out with a gun. Mauricio warned, "He's got a gun," and tried to pull James into cover, but James froze. 2 shots fired. Then the gun jammed. After a pause, 8 more shots. James was hit multiple times and died at the hospital. Detectives later connected the shooter to Casey, the BPS member who had been shot the week before. The gunman, Michael from Black P. Stones, was convicted of second-degree murder and attempted murder. He was sentenced to 80 years to life. While the violence has slowed, the tension between Black P. Stones and 18th Street still simmers. Social media keeps the disrespect alive, and the threat of retaliation never fully fades. Baldwin Village and the West Side still feel it, just quieter, more calculated.
Yeah, the war has simmered down. It's not the same, which is good. There's been a lot of violence back and forth. But as we've seen before and as we've seen earlier, the East Coast Crips and F-13s put their weapons down against one another at the very long, bloody, intense war. They were still able to put that behind them and stop the killings. Perhaps everyone will be able to do that soon. No one is benefiting from these wars. There you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I mean, the war was bloody. It was back and forth, and it's somewhat continuing, as we know, as we say, but it has slowed down, which is a good thing because we don't want this stuff to continue. We don't want to live in violence. And a lot of innocent people, as we can see, end up losing their lives in these wars. Just all the time it happens. All of the time. All of the time. Children, girls, women, driving down the street, walking down the street. It doesn't matter. You are in a war-torn area, you run a risk. Even though you're not a part of the war, you are not a part of the gang war. You are not a gang member whatsoever on either side. But the individuals that are pulling up from the other hood that's at war with this hood that you live in, they don't know that. Sometimes they just don't care. You live right here. You know these dudes. That's good enough. Because they just want revenge. They'll take you out. And you're not even a member. Yes, it happens all of the time. That's why you have to get your kids out of these situations, if at all possible. But that only puts a Band-Aid on the situation because it's still violent for everyone else that's over there. None of us want to live in these war-torn areas. So what we want to do is make the area livable for everyone. We shouldn't have to be running for our lives everywhere that we go. That's it. That's for every damn body. Let me know what you think in the comments. Shout out to the 18 Streets and the Black Peace Stones. A lot going on there. A lot of injured people, a lot of dead people, a lot of people in prison. He got 22 years. He got 22 years. He got 80 years. He got life. What? No. I don't see anyone winning in these situations. Stay safe and stay free, people.